In the fast-paced world of technology, there are some roles that are just absolutely critical to success, but a lot of us don't really know what they do. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most important of them all, the solution architect. Let's dive in.
So to really get why this role is so vital, we first have to understand the problem it's meant to solve. Think about it. Every big tech project is like this massive, complicated puzzle, right? It's got hundreds, sometimes thousands of moving pieces.
And all that complexity, well, it leads to a pretty tough question. With all the brilliant people and all the money we pour into tech, why do so many projects just go completely off the rails? Why do they go over budget? Or worse, just fail to deliver what the business actually needed in the first place?
The answer, according to the folks at LeanX, is honestly, it's kind of shocking. Almost half, that's 1 out of every 2 IT projects fail because there's a missing link. There's this huge gap between the big picture business strategy and the actual on-the-ground technical work. And that's exactly where everything tends to fall apart.
And this is where our hero steps in. The solution architect is that missing link. They're the bridge, the translator. They're the one person whose job it is to make absolutely sure that the technology being built is the right technology to solve a specific business problem.
Right, so to really get a handle on this role, it helps to see where the solution architect fits in with the other architects you might hear about. Let's break down the 3 key roles to get a much clearer picture.
This table from LeanX just lays it out perfectly. Think of it like this. The enterprise architect is the city planner, right? They're looking at the big picture for the entire organization. The technical architect? They're the master builder, deep in the weeds of a specific system, a specific technology. And the solution architect? They are the building architect. They're the one designing a specific project that actually fits into the city's master plan and gives that master builder a clear, solid blueprint to work from. And this chart just drives that point home. See? On one end, you've got the enterprise architect, who's all about high-level strategy. On the complete other end, the technical architect is way down in the technology. And the solution architect lives right there in that sweet spot in the middle, making sure the strategy is actually possible to build and the technology being built actually serves the strategy. It's all about balance. Okay, so we know who they are, we know where they fit, but what do they actually do? How do they take a business idea and turn it into something real, something that developers can actually code? Well, according to a guide from MITRE, it's this really clear 3-step process. First, they start at the conceptual level. This is all about defining the what and the why. What are we building and why are we building it? Then they move to the logical level, where they map out all the different system components and how they're going to talk to each other. And finally, they get down to the physical layer, the nitty-gritty of the specific technologies, the specific servers, the whole shebang. Now, the result of all this work isn't just a bunch of diagrams. It's a full-blown toolkit for the entire project team. As BizDesign outlines, this includes everything from data and security plans to how different systems will connect. But here's the crucial part. It also identifies potential risks and lays out a plan to deal with them. They're basically preventing fires before they even have a chance to start.
But look, creating that perfect blueprint, it is way easier said than done. The path is just littered with these common traps that can completely sink even the most brilliant architects.
So, an enterprise architect named Dmytro Golodiuk, who's got over 17 years of experience in the field, he's actually identified 10 of these critical red flags. We're going to zoom in on 2 of the biggest ones. First up is what I like to call the master keys trap. It's this huge temptation to design a single, perfect, one-size-fits-all solution that can supposedly solve every problem for every single person. It sounds amazing in theory, doesn't it? But the result, as Golodiuk points out, is you end up with this overly complicated, super generic system that's so watered down, it fails to solve anyone's specific real-world problems. The big lesson here, specificity, is everything.
Now, the second major pitfall is almost the exact opposite problem: over-specialization. This is what happens when an architect's past experience becomes a hammer and suddenly every single new problem starts to look a whole lot like a nail.
I mean, just look at this comparison. A narrow view, which is stuck in your past expertise, forces a solution. I was a database guy, so this has to be a database solution. But a holistic view, which is the architect's real job, starts with the business problem and asks, what's the best mix of tools to solve this? It doesn't matter what your background is.
So this all brings up a really big question for today. In these modern, super fast-paced, agile environments where teams are supposed to be self-organizing, does this kind of traditional, blueprint-heavy role of the architect even make sense anymore?
Well, according to Scrum.org, there's a huge shift in thinking going on. The idea is that the best designs don't come from a single genius architect handing down plans from on high. No, they actually emerge from the team that's doing the work.
And this leads to a really fundamental change. The focus is shifting from architect as a job title to architecture as a shared team responsibility. It's not about getting rid of architectural thinking, not at all. It's about embedding that kind of thinking into the development team itself. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. As technology just keeps evolving, what's the most important job of an architect? Is it to build that perfect detailed blueprint? Or is it to empower the team to build their architectural skills and to guide them as they all build the solution together? It's a really fascinating question about where this role is headed.